What happens when you refuse to surrender? A Stoic's answer to endurance. There comes a moment in every life when everything seems to slow down. Not because the world has paused, but because your soul is tired. Tired of trying, tired of hoping, tired of being strong for everyone, while silently wondering, who's strong for me? You stare at the dream you once held so close, and now it feels like a stranger. You look at the road ahead, and it feels like climbing a mountain with no summit in sight. You begin to wonder, what if I just stopped? What if I laid it all down? But then something stirs inside you. Not loud, not dramatic, but steady, ancient, eternal. A voice that says, not yet. One more step. This isn't just willpower. This is a sacred fire. The Stoics knew it well. It is the force that carried Marcus Aurelius through plagues and betrayal. The fire that kept Epictetus grounded when everything was taken from him. It's the power of never giving up. Not for applause, not for recognition, but because there's something within you that refuses to die. And that part of you, that quiet, relentless part, is who you really are. Why we want to quit. Let's be honest. We all feel it. The weight, the doubt, the voice that says, what's the point? We live in a world addicted to ease. We're conditioned to expect quick wins, instant validation, effortless success. And so, when the journey becomes slow, painful, unclear, we panic. We think something's wrong. We think we're wrong. But here's what the Stoics knew. Hardship is not the sign that you should quit. It's the sign that you're finally doing something that matters. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor burdened with wars, betrayal, and loss, didn't run from the difficulty. He walked straight into it, and he wrote, if it is endurable, then endure it. Stop complaining. Because pain to the Stoics was never the problem. It was a teacher, a test, a forge for the soul. When you want to quit, don't ask, how do I escape this? Ask, who can I become through this? The Stoic view of endurance. Endurance, to the Stoics, wasn't passive suffering. It was the deepest form of strength. Epictetus, born a slave, crippled by his master, never once let his circumstances define him. Instead, he said, you may bind my leg, but not even Zeus has the power to break my will. You see, the Stoic doesn't endure because it's noble. They endure because it's freedom. The world can take your title, your health, your dream, but it cannot take your will unless you give it away. And that is the Stoic stance. To suffer without surrender, to feel pain and keep walking, to be bent by life, but not broken. Seneca, who lost his wealth, his status, even faced execution, said, difficulty strengthens the mind as labor strengthens the body. He didn't ask for an easier life. He asked for a stronger character. So when you feel like quitting, remember this. Every challenge you survive without bowing is a victory no one can take from you. What you're really building, you think you're building a career, a dream, a goal, but the truth, you're building a character, a soul that cannot be shaken by applause or silence, a mind that doesn't crumble when things fall apart, a spirit that stands tall, not because the world is easy, but because it has chosen to be unbreakable. Every morning you get up after failing, every night you try again after doubting, every moment you breathe through pain without complaint, you are becoming someone greater than the person who first began. The Stoics understood this deeply. They didn't value comfort. They didn't worship success. They honored virtue. And virtue is only born in the fire. This isn't about winning. This is about becoming. You're not just chasing something outside. You're forming something eternal inside. And that is the true reward, the quiet power of steady progress. Let's talk about progress. It's not always loud. It doesn't always look like fireworks and breakthroughs. Sometimes it looks like quiet repetition, 1,000 unnoticed steps, an invisible transformation. And that's okay. The Stoics remind us, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. You don't need to shout that you're strong. You just need to keep moving when it's easier to stop. You don't need to prove your growth. You just need to keep showing up. Progress is a whisper, not a roar. It's a single drop of water, repeated endlessly. That carves the hardest stone, so don't worry if no one claps. Don't panic if the results are slow. The Stoic path is not glamorous, it's sacred. It's for those who can delay praise for purpose, who can walk alone without losing themselves, who can keep sowing, even when the harvest hasn't come. Because real strength is not speed, it's endurance. What happens when you don't give up? So what really happens when you don't give up? When you rise, even with bruised knees and a battered heart. When you stand dash, even when your spirit trembles. When you keep going, not because you feel strong, but because you refuse to surrender. You change. You become something rare, something the world can't categorize. You become solid, like a mountain. Not untouched by the storm, but unmoved by it. Every person who's ever achieved something meaningful, not just externally, but internally, did so not through perfect conditions, but through perfect commitment. They were laughed at, ignored, dismissed, even betrayed, but they kept walking. Because the Stoics teach us, your soul isn't shaped by comfort, it's revealed through struggle. You stop needing certainty. You stop craving applause. You no longer seek escape. You develop what Marcus Aurelius called an inner citadel, a fortress of strength that cannot be shaken by delay, failure, or rejection. And you realize, not giving up was never about the outcome. It was about the transformation. The reward was who you became. So if you're still here, still breathing, still carrying the weight of silent battles no one sees, let this be your reminder. You are not broken. You are becoming. You are not weak. You are walking through fire, and the fire is forging you. Keep showing up. Even if your voice trembles, even if your hands shake, even if your hope feels thin. Because every time you choose not to quit, you're not just moving forward. You're declaring to the world, I am not done yet. And that declaration, that's not just survival, that's philosophy. That's virtue, that's Stoicism in motion. Like this message? Share it with someone who's about to give up. Subscribe if you want more of this kind of strength every single week. Because in a world full of noise, you chose to be unshakable, and that makes you extraordinary.